Here we go. Thanks everyone for joining today. We are very excited to have this second Women Who Mule JAPAC meetup, and we've got a very lovely panel lined up for our C4E discussion. So really looking forward to this. The agenda is very simple today. We'll do some introductions, and I'll talk a little bit about the MuleSoft community that we've got here in JAPAC. And then we'll jump into the panel discussion, which is the C4E journeys. And we've got some speakers who've got first-hand experience with setting up a C4E practice for their customers or their own organization. So we'll learn from that, and hopefully we'll all go away with some takeaways from that discussion. In the end, we'll talk a little bit about how you can get involved in the MuleSoft community if you would like to, or learn more about MuleSoft products. And then we'll wrap up with key takeaways and some, I guess, something to look forward to. With that, we'll jump in. So I did want to bring this slide forward. This is a global Women Who Mule meetup leaders. So this group started in North America with the people you see on the left-hand side. As you can see, there's quite a lot of lovely ladies involved in running this group. But once we started in North America, and we saw that there's quite a big community here in JAPAC and also in the Europe region. So we started these two other groups in EMEA and now in APAC as well. So I'm very much looking forward to growing this and having more women come and talk in this meetup. So I am your JAPAC MuleSoft leader, meetup leader, sorry. And my name is Ashna Patel. I work as a customer success architect here at MuleSoft, and I'm based in Wellington, New Zealand. And very much looking forward to getting to know all of you and running more of these meetups so we can have a community build here together. And a little bit about the ecosystem and the community that we've got here in JAPAC. So first, a little bit about the global community. If you're new to MuleSoft, you might have heard some of these terms, might not have. So we've got a lot of MuleSoft meetup groups. Globally, we've got meetup groups in 30 plus countries and with thousands of members who attend these meetups. Most of those are virtual at the moment, but quite a lot of countries have started doing these in person again. So do check out if your local city has a meetup group already, and you can join those as well. We have a couple of programs around MuleSoft Mentors, which is a program that recognizes the amazing MuleSoft community contributors and the mentors who help others learn a little bit more about the MuleSoft product and sort of help guide them. There's also another program called MuleSoft Ambassadors, which is the experts that share their MuleSoft expertise, speak at events, answer the questions, and sort of mentor the peers and publish the documentation, tutorials, and guides and things like that that will help people understand a little bit more about the products. And I'm sure if you've done any MuleSoft development, you have already looked up MuleSoft Help Center at some point to answer your questions or find any documentation or how-to guides. So we've got an online community there as well, which where people answer questions and share their knowledge on how to do things with MuleSoft products. So if you are looking to get involved, do check out these different community options on the MuleSoft community website and learn more about it. I do want to call out that in JAPAC, we've got quite a few meetup groups now, and I'm really excited about this. As you can see, a lot of majority of them are in India because we've got a huge MuleSoft development practices in India, and a lot of customers and partners in India who are sort of boosting this community. We've got, at this stage, when this was recorded, 58 MuleSoft meetup groups are there in JAPAC. And if you follow MuleSoft on LinkedIn, you'll see there's quite a few more coming up as we go. So keep an eye on that. There's 12 plus countries with meetup groups in the JAPAC region. So yeah, very, very buzzing community, I'd say. And obviously, we've got a lot of our customers based here in JAPAC and number of partners. Partners are the ones who are sort of helping us expand this community as well with their consulting and implementation services. A lot of happy customers in the JAPAC region as well. So some of the big names, as you can see on the screen here. So very much looking forward to increasing this community to include all of our partners and customers. With that, we will jump into the panel discussion. Today's topic is the C4E or Center for Enablement. If you don't know what Center for Enablement is, I've just had a wee little slide to explain that. So I'll start with that on what is C4E. C4E is a way to, it's a framework to enable delivery teams to design and build productized APIs in a decentralized way and promote the reuse of APIs through an API ecosystem. This also helps in improving the efficiency and accelerating innovation. The two things that C4E focuses on is the platform and the enablement. This is more, you can think of this as more as the central team that helps the decentralized or the delivery teams or the project teams, as we call them, enable themselves into building those reusable APIs. And the kind of things that C4E team would cover is on platform side, they would cover API strategy, having that reference architecture, including the security and other aspects that sort of come into picture with the integration of the enterprise organization, and also the deployment and management side of things. So think CI/CD pipelines and DevOps practices and support and maintenance side of things as well. On the enablement side of things, they take care of things like API best practices. So they create documentation, they create tutorials and guides around what sort of best practices they want to have implemented in the organization. Also delivery acceleration and support for building reusable APIs. As we said, there's a lot more focus on having the APIs being built in a reusable way. So that's kind of where the focus is for C4E. So with that little bit of background, I'm pretty sure a lot of you have already heard a lot about C4E, may already have a C4E practice in your organization. So with that, I would like to jump in and introduce our panelists for today. Really very, very excited for this panel. I love all of these ladies and cannot wait to hear more from them. So first of all, massive thank you for all of you to come and join us here in the panel today. We've got panelists from our valued customers. We've got Pavithra from Pepper. We've got Soumya, who is our own MuleSoft Professional Services practice lead. And we've also got Sonal from Capgemini, who is a senior manager at Capgemini. And before we get into it, I would like to just introduce them in their a little bit more professional experience background. So I'll start with Pavithra. Pavithra has more than 12 years of experience in various technologies such as MuleSoft, Kitewire, Java, SQL. Currently, she's working for Pepper Financial Services in Australia. She's based in Sydney, and she's focusing on running the MuleSoft community of practice and leading the MuleSoft design and development at Pepper. Her hobby is singing, and she is a trained classical music singer. So welcome, Pavi, and very glad to have you here and talk about your C4E practice at Pepper.
Thank you, Archana.
Okay, I'll move on to Soumya. Soumya has had 18 plus years of experience in the IT industry, and her background includes delivery, change, transformation, account and business development across different industries like financial services, retail, engineering, and logistics. Her team of Soumya and her team of technical architects are accountable for successfully delivering our services to our customers, and they do so by ensuring that we lead with value, technical expertise, and quality. They are focusing on the delivery of the outcomes and digital experiences based on the expectations and the vision that has been agreed with the customer. And she also has a lot of experience in setting up the C4E practice with a variety of MuleSoft customers in the JAPAC region. So really looking forward to hear from you, Soumya, on your experience as well.
Thank you.
And welcome to the panel.
Yeah.
And last but not least, we've got Sonal Sharma from Capgemini. Sonal is working in the integration domain for the last 13 years, and her experience in various products such as MuleSoft, Oracle, etc. She's passionate about helping organizations in their digital journeys. Her recent work is around helping organizations by architecting the best usage of MuleSoft capability to suit their needs. She's based out of Melbourne and likes to inspire other women by motivating, empowering, and creating awareness among them. With a sense of giving back to the community, she's also organized the very first of its kind program for women health awareness, and many more which have been mentioned in the Victorian Parliament as well. And to balance her technical mind, she likes to write poems. So welcome, Sonal. Very glad to have you as the panelist as well.
Thank you, Ashna. Very happy to be part of panelist. Thanks.
All right, with that, we will jump into the panel discussion. So first of all, I just want to understand a little bit more about your role in your own words. And if you can just like tell us a little bit more what it's like. We'll start with Pavithra, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, glad to share the details of our experience with C4E journey at Pepper. So we started off this initiative actually made up this year, and it was quite a lot of learning and a lot of challenges across this journey. So now we are running regular COP meetings, and the main motto of the COP meetings is to socialize whatever we develop across different squads, as we work in agile squad model at Pepper. So that's the main motive of our COP meetings. So I run the regular COP meetings and evangelize the API-led approach to all the different stakeholders community at Pepper. And we also focus on defining the API vision, objectives, keeping in mind the mm, things like KPI metrics, uh, and whatever that is aligning with the business outcome, so that we bridge the gap between business and technology strategy. That is the main motto of my role as a C4E lead at Pepper. Yeah, what do you think, Sonal, based on your experience on the same grounds?
Yeah, so no, you're absolutely right. So I work as an architect with the organizations to help in their digital journey. And we go hand in hand with the organization as part of my role to have a better success stories. And as Pavitra said rightly, right, like the my current role is basically to help the organization to have the best practices, the standards, and having the patterns and the templates. And the main role of that is to have the reusability in the organization, to have the bridge between the business and the technology. And that's the reason I'm very passionate about this C4A and very happy to be part of this. And I've seen the organization having that journey from where they are a bit reluctant initially, and when it's been given the awareness to them. And the benefits that when they see over the time that it will go so smooth, or they have seen the tremendous amount of acceleration in the go-to-market time, or help in their team as well to have a better practice established to reach them to a goal bit early, and with the standards, with the quality of the APIs. That's where my basic role is.
Awesome,
So,
thanks.
Soumya, yeah, what do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Sonal. Thank you, Pavitra. See, as the practice lead here for Asia Professional Services, one of the main things that me, my team, and actually all of us at Services do is really how do we get our customers to understand and adopt our platform? Something that can be more long term. And something that they are really comfortable, so they start seeing the business value of using MuleSoft. So really, that's the role. Try to get them to use more of MuleSoft in the right way, so they can start seeing all of the business value coming out of the platform. Yeah.
Awesome, that's great. Um, with that, I guess that kind of leads me into the next question is that what do you think are the biggest challenges that organizations face when there is no C4E set up? So what kind of challenges do you see? Maybe we can start with Soumya.
A couple of things we've seen really is maintenance. Sometimes we've got large customers and they have multiple business units. They're all using MuleSoft, but they're all using it in their own ways, which is great. But when it sometimes it also
has so much inconsistency in terms of time and effort. And if they had a C4E setup, then it would, there would be a place where they could collect all of this information and then disseminate throughout the organization, which actually then reduces a lot of the time to market, and things just get faster in that sense. The other thing I've also seen, one of the challenges is reuse. You keep building applications, you keep building APIs for everything because you don't really know what already exists, or there is no process to find out what exists. So I think that's one of the things. But having said that, we do have a couple of customers where they're small, and they, even when they don't have a perfect C4E setup, because they are really small and there's just that one team using it actually still then does work. So sometimes scalability becomes a big topic here. When you have to scale, then you have to have all of these processes that can be repeated across. So that's where, yeah.
Yeah, I think you've got that perfectly right, because if it is a small organization, they can talk to each other. It's a very small community, and they know what's being built and they know what's available. So that's not such a challenge. But once you start talking about maybe 3, 4 teams, 5 teams, 10 teams, then it gets really complex, and they don't often tend to talk to each other, and that knowledge gets lost of what's available, what's there, and what's the common practice. So yeah, some really good points. How about you, Sonal and Pavi? Would you like to add anything to this?
Yeah, I agree with Soumya on this ground, because we have actually experienced the same situation at Pepper. We started off independently as small teams, and we all work in silos. So that was fine when it was a limited scope of requirement, and now when we are more into digital strategy and focusing on expanding our productized groups, we are facing this challenge of working in silos. That doesn't work anymore. That was the realization dawned in 2020, actually. End of 2020, we realized that we cannot work like this anymore. We need a strategy, integration strategy, to build our capabilities better. And we needed to evangelize this concept across our organization culture as well. So it was like a 4-step process for us, establishing the strategy, publishing this among the culture of Pepper values, and finally experiencing and implementing this strategy was a challenge, of course. Knowledge sharing is not across the squads, and the stabilization of prod became a challenge later on once we had a lot of apps productized in the production environment. So all these needed to be taken into consideration when we wanted a new strategy to build.
Yeah.
How about you, Sonal?
To Soumya and Pavithra. Yeah, they are the very good point, and that's the reason the C4 can help the organization to accelerate their digital journey. Apart from that, I've seen the organization, but as before that, but I would like to say, as Soumya mentioned, if it's a small organization, or your scale of the organization does matter as well. But at the same time, I think so all the organization or anyone, whoever is using MuleSoft, or the integration practices they have, it's worthwhile for them to have a rethink or to think about C4E at the very start, whether it's needed for them or not needed, or one architect would be fine for them, or to establish that practices. Because I've seen in the organization, they always started with one project, one delivery, one funding. And later on, we have seen with the COVID, everything was so much digital need requirement was there. And I've seen in the government sector as well, there was just one project, which was internal project, just having 3 APIs deliver the functionality. That's pretty much it. And the COVID started, and all this backlog of the requirements have started pile up, and there was nobody to understand what's happening around them. There was no way to understand what is already being built, so the reusability can't be achieved without C4E. They have the exchange, they were doing it, but that was again not being rightly used. So I would say sometime we end up exploiting the product itself that is used there for integration, that is there to help us to have a better return on our investment. But within the absence of C4E, I see that is very difficult to achieve, because C4E has that measurables, deliverables that we need to deliver it, having the common codes, common API to be built, which can be reused. But I've seen the project, they just keep on developing, reinventing the same wheel. So that is just, again, exploitation of the product. And in addition to that, I've seen where we end up blocking the legacy system as well, instead of unlocking the system, which is the basis, or which is the fundamental use of this integration, MuleSoft, where we talk about the system APIs. A project came and they start having a system APIs on legacy system. And then other project came. They don't know anything about what is already there. Then they built 3 more APIs. And then third project, okay, we might not reuse your APIs because it's still not productionized, so I will build my own, And then they again built 3 more. So instead of helping, the whole point of having these integrations in between to help, that unlock the system, to help the organization with a better output, we just block the system. We just got it all wrong, So I see that C4 is a very basic component, or very needed component in the organization, with a big organization, to, if they want to have a better return on their investment, if they want to have go to market time, they want to reduce it, they want their legacy system not even bombarded with more APIs calls and stuff, and yeah, definitely going back to Soumya and Pavithra points, that reusability, the standardization, having a consistency is very important, and which C4E gives that.
Yeah, I think what I heard is that there is a lot of education that needs to happen in terms of how best to sort of design, so that you, for example, the system APIs that you talked about, or making sure that you're not blocking the systems or blocking access to the systems rather than unlocking them. And I think C4E kind of acts as the catalyst for that, to allow for that design and that sort of collaborative approach. And it's important to have that as a proactive approach rather than reactive, and think about collaboration afterwards rather than from the start. So some really good points. Yeah. Okay. With that in mind, in your experience, how should an organization go about setting up a C4E to get the most out of it? What are the kind of things that you would think about or recommend that get addressed before an organization starts their C4E journey? We'll start with Pavi.
Searching for the unmute button. Yeah. So
We will struggle with that.
Yeah, we started with actually understanding what are the types of C4E setup we can have. Like the best, obviously, would suit our organization was federated C4E model. Because we work in LOBs, we have different tech squads for each LOB, and we work on perfect agile model. So we went for the federated C4E model, and we jotted down the skills required for C4E as part of Pepper capabilities. Mainly, we were kind of falling short of architects, but still we survived with the number of capabilities we have, skills we have. So we stuck on to C4E sponsor roles, C4E lead, C4E devs, and yeah, we had an analyst and asset owner roles that we could identify immediately. And the first step was to actually, make this established among the existing members at Pepper, making this concept familiarized among the Pepper family, and then we have the plan of recruiting new members. So it was like a trial period from August till date, and now we are looking at recruiting more people into our C4E family actually, because we are very happy with the way we are directed towards through C4E approach, and so we are looking at bringing in more members into the C4E family as well. So that's how it goes. And apart from that, we started working on the existing priorities. That's the key thing I feel whenever an organization wants to set up a C4E. Uh, instead of complicating it, it's better to start with a simple count, like just two or three is enough to run a C4E to start with, especially on a medium-sized organization. Understand the priorities and have simple KPIs. Do not have complex KPIs is my humble advice, because that will give you better confidence to run the C4E. Have simple KPIs that are directly aligned with our business outcome and easily understandable to the group as well across different stakeholders, because that will give you more confidence on running the C4E. That's what I could mm, call it out in a nutshell. That was our experience of setting up C4E.
No, yeah, I really love that. Simple KPIs. I think we try and complicate things too much when we start with something like this. So I think that's a really good. In a hindsight, it's a really good advice that you want to keep things simple so you can keep tracking it. So thank you for that. How about you, Soumya?
Yeah, setting up C4E always start small, and definitely start off with having a sponsor, mainly someone who can take the great stuff that the C4E is going to do or is already doing, out there in the organization, right? So you need someone to kind of bat for you, so to speak. So really, that is one thing. And then the C4E team can be really small. Like, we have a couple of customers, in fact, who have a really small team and who don't even call it C4E, but essentially that is what they're doing. They have a sponsor, they have an integration lead who works really closely with their overall enterprise architect, right? And that's it. That's how they started. But they're doing really well because now that they've expanded, they've added more architects, and they've added a couple of business folks as well, right? Because they want to bring in the LOB into it, and they want to understand, where is it that integration can help. And they're not even calling it a C4E, and they're using our platform really to the maximum. So don't get hung up on names. Don't get, really start small. And it's very important to have a sponsor. It's important to have a leader, or someone in that organization who can see what you're doing and the value that this team is bringing in, and who can take that further. Because once you have that there, then it's much easier when you go in, you ask for scaling, you ask for additional enablement, you ask for all of those things. It just becomes easier. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
How about you, Sonal? Would you like to add anything to it?
Yeah, Archana, probably I would like to touch base on the mindset of the organization when they want to set up the C4A. What all the questions, and those are all valid questions. They they ask, because being a consultant, I always started thinking from the organization perspective, like right. So when they say, okay, C4A will give me better results, it's good for me organization wise as well. It helped me in the organization in my digital journey as well. But then they think like, how about the effort, resources, and the funding from where it will come. So these are all the valid question, and that's what will determine whether you need the C4E or not at first place, right? Or what would be the scale of your C4E. And so I guess whenever the organization struggle because they don't think it linked with a project, and project always generally have funding, right? But this is something C4E we need to understand is there to help the organization, not just one project, not just one deliverable, not just one business domain or business engagement thing, right? So having those questions on the table, I guess it's very good to have that open conversation about, because generally organization will struggle why I need to hire resource to do something which my integration architect can do it. My integration architect will help me to lay down all the patterns. He has the understanding of the MuleSoft technology and what the C4E will do, why I need to spend that extra dollars to have resources, and you're saying they are just sitting in between, but I don't have a funding, right? So I guess to have those mindset is also good. To have those question on the table is also good, just to have an open conversation. And then once we have the justification for the C4 in the organizations, like we have discussed before, right? Yeah, how it can help for have a better return on the investment, how it can help to have a go-to-market, how it can help us to not create a web around it, which where we can get stuck. So when we have all those questions answered and the mindset start getting changes, then we need to look how we need to set up the C4E. There is no right and wrong way of setting up C4E. There is no algorithm for it that X plus Y has to be C. No, but it is how it works best for that organization. And that's the right way, as Pavithra also mentioned, start with something very small. And with that, I think so it's very important how we set up C4E at which level. We just don't want to set C4E just in the integration space. If it sits in just in the integration space, tech lead is there, integration architect is there, and we won't able to get the returns or the result that we want for the organization. How I see C4 is it should have the full visibility of the organization goal, because it should act as a catalyst for the organization goal. And then it should have a visibility of what the business engagement teams have in their plates, the requirements that are coming up the pipeline. And it should have a good understanding of the integration practices, the standards, it had also have a hands-on onto the technology so that they know what is going in the downstream. So how I see C4 is as a bridge which will work for the organization, having the visibility of the business and the technology. Having said that, who all compromise that C4E, how we can achieve this is very important as well. I would say people should start thinking, can we have the solution architect in C4E? Yes, why not? Because from my experience, I've seen in the organization, sometimes the hierarchy is such a way that business engagement will speak to the solution architect. They will look what is the overall requirement is, and they choose the product for it. So might be it never end up into the integration bucket, because they think, okay, let's create some sys packages, or let's create some .NET API, just once off, no need to go to the integration, right? So having C4E, getting the visibility that what all the right project are there, which where the integration, the API, all this can help organization. Keeping the organization goal in mind is very important. So yes, we should have the solution architect. Why not? Business engagement, yes, once in a month we should have a catch up with the business engagement to know what is all in their pipelines. And why not the business analyst? Yes, we need to have the integration architect, because they are the person who will have the technical skills, and they would know that what is all going into the development team, what is all the artifacts is there which we can reuse it. So having clubbed all these people is very important as well in C4E. If we club just C4E to the integration, I guess again the result that we would get is very less. So at which level we set up the C4E, who all will compromise it, is also very important in setting up the C4E.
Thank you. That was some really good points that you captured there. So in just the interest of time, I do see there's a question from the audience, and they've asked, could you elaborate or dumb it down for people like me who are new to MuleSoft, that how is the reuse promoted or duplicate API development avoided by a C4E setup? Would any of you would like to address that very quickly, because I want to make sure that they get the most out of this panel before we move forward.
Yeah, probably I can just say a simple answer to it. Just use MuleSoft Exchange portal. That is very powerful if rightly used. Have some taggings around it, because you don't want to, because if there are a lot of business domains going on, you don't want it to just stick to or hard to rediscover it. So tagging is very important as well. Have the Exchange used where the APIs can be reused it. Anyone can come and look for the API. Just need to put the domain into it, data into it. That would be my short and simple answer to that. Soumya, do you think so? Do you want to add something to it?
That was perfect. Exchange is the best way. So see, once you do set up C4E, or once you start learning, MuleSoft. So Puneet, I understand you are a newbie to MuleSoft. So once you start, exploring in, so you'll see how powerful it is, with this concept called API discovery, where on the Exchange you can find, you can tag, you can version, you can do all of those things with APIs, and then you can also have an API portal where you can explain what this is to be used for and why you have to use it. So when you start a new development, you know that you can go into Exchange, or if you have your own API portal, you can just go into that, and then you can see and look for what is available. So in that sense, you will not rebuild it, so that avoids duplicate API, and you are now using or reusing what someone else has already done, and it's already ready for you. So yeah, it's very simple actually to find it and use it. I hope that answers the question. And thank you so
Yeah,
much.
sure. Yeah, sure. That's what even we are doing at Pepper. Like we have started using API Exchange more effectively. We also make it a point to tag it to the respective squad names, and then visualize it in the visualizer. Find out the way the API-led architecture is built through the visualizer as well. So we make use of the visualizer as part of this analysis, how each API is connected to each other. And also the COP meetings are definitely helping us. The regular fortnightly catch-up that we have as a COP meeting for all the mule devs. We discuss whatever new requirements that come across, so that it is put to the floor for everybody to discuss the architecture around it. And if anyone has a reusable component available already for it, comes out with that answer and makes life easier. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for answering that. With that, I'm also conscious of time, so I will skip to the next one. What is the one piece of practical advice that you'd like to share for anyone who's looking to set up C4E for their organization? If, like, I'm sure you've all had tons of experience setting this up for your customers or your organization. What do you think was the most important learning for you from there? We will start with Sonal.
So I'll with the conscious of time, I'll just try to summarize it a bit in short. So I guess the basic fundamental is to have the conversation of C4E, whether we need it or not, at the very start. At the very start of the organization, from the time we got the first project, the first funding comes for the project, just have a set and think whether we need the C4E or not. Because I've seen the organization, in my personal experience, I've seen the organization, they said we have just one project and they started with it. And after 2 years, they find it a big mess where they are difficult. They don't know what is already there in their system. It's very difficult to reuse anything. And there is no standardization across it. So and I think so this is very easy thing to do it, to have 1-day workshop to understand how the C4E can help them to understand whether we need it or not, what scale it should have. And also with that we can have this in the sprint. So this is another very good point, that we can establish this C4E which can also run in the sprint, which is the best way of running it, because this is also very important as well, because I've seen the people is like, okay, this has been set up, and then after 3 months they come up that I haven't seen value around it. So have the sprint around it, have the measurable KPIs around it. What would be the deliverable of that? Whether we want to have some kind of a common patterns or standard patterns around it, just set up the deliverable for every sprint, have the measurable KPIs around it. So yeah, I guess those would be very important, or my practical advice would be to think about C4E at first, scale of it, how it will be set up, and what would be the KPI around it. And there is no best version of it. We all learn, just iterate it over the time. It's not one fit, the best fit for everyone. It's like every organization have their own best fit for which suit them.
Yeah. Awesome.
I think just to,
how about you, Soumya?
Yeah, thanks, Asha. No, I just started talking because I wanted to, build on what Sonal was saying, right? And it's completely true. Also, the point of the C4E is the feedback loop. It's that constant learning, right? You are doing something and then you are seeing if that helps you. If it doesn't, then you're going to do something else to fix it or modify it or change it. So that constant feedback loop is something that has to happen, because again, if you're going to keep producing APIs, no one's using it, no one's giving you feedback, then again it's really like then it's not really fully utilized. So having that feedback loop is very, very important. The only other thing, again, building on Sonal's point, is whatever basic measure of success that you can measure, we need to measure. It doesn't have to be complex KPIs, doesn't have to be anything. Like some of our customers have separate tools and other things that they kind of hook into our platform to understand few of the KPIs, specific ones that are not readily available. Some of them also build scripts for some of the manual KPIs. But I'm saying just start small. What is the easiest that you can measure within the tool, right? Just have a habit of measuring every month. So that way you'll really build on that. So it's also a way for your lead, whoever your lead is, whether it's your sponsor or anyone, to take those statistics back. Because with a lot of our customers, when you start scaling, again, the topic of how do I fund more people? How do I scale this team? All of that comes in. So for them, this is the stats that they can use. Look at the success that we've had with these kind of metrics. So it becomes very important even on that level if you keep at least measuring some of the simple KPIs to start with.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Thanks. Pavi, would you like to add anything to that?
Completely agree with Sonal and Soumya, because that was part of our journey to like our key priority was understanding the existing gaps in the ways of working among the MuleSoft devs. And the workshop that we had as part of establishing the C4E life cycle. So the workshop we had with Arda and team was really helpful for us because that gave us a holistic view of what we are lagging behind and what we are aspiring to achieve and the target state and the future state of our MuleSoft community practice. Uh, and that gave us confidence as well as to how things are going to be down the line, how things need to be stabilized in the organization. Based on that, there was a wonderful C4E handbook developed by our team, and when I reviewed through that, it was like even more picturized in a wonderful way how things have to be articulated and executed. Uh, the next step was, of course, sharing the C4E handbook with our MuleSoft devs, stakeholders, POs, and technology management. And we signed off on the C4E handbook, and then we went about using that as a Bible for implementation.
Hmm. That's awesome. I love that one. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Last but not the least, I do want to ask this question. Sorry, will you say something? Okay, I'll move on. The last one is that C4E it acts as a forum for the teams to exchange ideas and influence each other on the best practices and things like that. What considerations do you think we need to make sure that this process is inclusive and not just the loudest voices are heard, but everyone has a chance to sort of collaborate and contribute? We can start with Soumya on that. Oh, sorry, Pavi, you go. That's fine.
Yeah,
Oh,
no
you guys
worries.
decide.
Yeah, that was an interesting question actually, because we did have this discussion when we wanted to set up the C4E. So the C4E sponsors were concerned around how long the spirit will not fizzle out in the group. So that was the main challenge we were discussing. So what I suggested was having regular catch up and making the catch up more structured and formulated. The main challenge we faced earlier was we used to kick off with regular COP meetings. However, the spirit used to fizzle out down the line. We didn't have participants. We didn't have new topics. We didn't have the confidence in discussing topics there because after that it was not addressed. It was just forgotten, gone with the wind in the discussion in the COP meetings. So really we wanted to have a fruitful discussion in the COP meeting. So once a couple of regular catch up went on very fruitful and gained the trust of the participants, the regular catch ups were easy. Also, we encourage everyone to participate, not the same speaker, not the same set of topics, or the same format was followed. We encourage everyone to participate. We have brainstorming sessions in the regular catch up so that everyone benefits out of it. We bring in product owners to speak on the roadmap so that it brings up the interest of the developers to think for the next COP on the architecture grounds as well. That was the main initiative that we have taken up in Pepper. We're also thinking of adding it into the performance rating, but not very strictly. However, it's also in the back of our mind. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't wanna gamify it, eh? How about you, Soumya? Would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, what I've seen at one customer, I want to actually just mention that. So they started doing these lunch brown bag sessions. So in their office, they had this, not like a courtyard, but this open space, like kind of built a little bit like an amphitheater, with few steps, but indoor. And then there were
Yeah.
tables around and basically, you know, a couple of whiteboards and all of that. So that was the area where they would have regular brown bag lunch sessions. You know, you could come get your lunch and just sit there. And this was open to the entire organization, not just for IT or anyone else. And then the C4E team or the MuleSoft team that was there, you know, they would go and present there casually. And then, you know, it was, and what I found was they started getting so many inquiries. Hey, what is this about? What are you guys doing? Do you think you can help in my, you know, what I'm doing with in my unit or in my business? So it really became such a nice inclusive space because anyone could walk in, like whoever, anyone from the organization could walk in, have their lunch, listen to someone else talking. So it really built a very nice space for non-technical and technical, non-integration and integration, like for everyone. I thought it was really good. It just kind of put people together, and they were really very simple questions. Wait, what does this do again? What is MuleSoft? Why should we use it? You know, really basic stuff. And you know, they would start explaining, and I thought it was a brilliant space to share and collaborate, and really a way to make C4E your own in this
Yeah.
space. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a brilliant idea, and it's about creating that space where people can feel
Yeah.
comfortable to share ideas and ask those questions rather than having people point it out and having the structured agenda
Correct. Yes.
to sort of walk through. So yeah, I love that. Thanks. How about you, Sonal? Would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think so. This is very important that very important aspect of C4A, that it has to be inclusive. It has to give the voice to the to everyone, including the developer, because sometimes we have seen the higher people or the high people who are in the hierarchy have the more roles and responsibilities. They will go have a bigger discussion about, and then the people who are actually developing the code, the developers, their voice never get heard. And so I guess to have this C4E to be inclusive and to hear the voice of the developer, to hear the voice of the businesses, to hear the voices, Soumya said, whether it's an integration, non-integration, business, technical, to have that environment, to have that inclusiveness in them is very important. And I guess that is also one of the key which C4A should have. Give the voice to the lowest as well, to have, because at the end of the day, the developer is the people who will be building it. To train them, if there is any in the organization, if there is a need of having a training, to identify that, that yes, there is a need for a training, to identify that there is a knowledge gap in the team or in the organization, to have that fulfilled by the having sessions, having awareness session, by having training set up for them, having a regular catch up with them to motivate them is also another way to keep the team spirit up. So to have that inclusive environment where everyone feel that they can speak, there is nothing right and wrong, there is nothing silly or non-silly, like it's not silly or expert competition, or it's not like something which is like very fancy and people are scared. It's more about inclusive, where everyone can go and talk about the very basics of it as well, and it's okay to don't know. But I guess the people will feel more confident and more comfortable if that C4A have that space of inclusiveness where every voice is get heard, and get action as well, and people feel safe over there to raise their concern, their things, and as we were talking about C4E having that feedback loop, which is very important. So inclusiveness is also part of that feedback loop, where developers, in business people, the architect, the solution architect, they all can have their inputs as well, and we can improvise, in the future on those points. So yeah, I guess that is also very important for the C4E to lay down some of the practices which will motivate everyone to speak up. Yeah.
That's awesome. That is, yeah, we've got some really good points, and I've got like 2 pages full of points that I noted down as part of this discussion. And in the interest of time, I would like to wrap it up. I was going to do a summary, but I've just realized that we've gone way over. So I will skip that. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for sharing all your learnings. There was an amazing discussion. This session is recorded, so people will be able to access it afterwards, and I will share it so that more people can learn from what we've talked about today. And to those on the call, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for listening in. I apologize we went over time a bit. But yeah, if you have any questions, if you would like to learn more about these things, feel free to reach out, and do subscribe to the Meetup so you get to know about the events in future as well. And hope you found this useful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Archana, for organizing.
For organizing it. It's a really good talk. Thanks everyone.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Soumya. Thanks, Pavi.
Thanks, Sonal. Thanks, Pavi. Thanks, everyone who joined. See you.
See you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. We'll wrap it up here. Cheers.